Hey everyone, with the Villains Man, I'm JVD.
And I'm Smiley, and today we're taking to a new Dungeons and discussing familiars and steeds.
So before we get started from Player's Handbook, I'm just going to read the beginning of Find Familiar, followed by Find Steed. For Find Familiar, you gain the service of a familiar, a spirit that takes on an animal form you choose: bat, cat, crab, frog, parentheses, toad, hawk, lizard, octopus, owl, poisonous snake, quipperfish, rat, raven, seahorse, weasel, or spider. Appearing in an occupied space within range, the familiar has the statistics of the chosen form, though is a celestial, fey, or fiend, your choice instead of a beast. For the Find Steed spell, you summon a spirit animal that assumes the form of an unusually intelligent, strong, and loyal steed, creating a long-lasting bond with it. Appearing in an occupied space within range, the steed takes on a form that you choose, such as a warhorse, a pony, a camel, an elk, or a mastiff. The DM might allow other animals to be summoned as steeds. Who's notorious for doing that?
I think both of us.
Yeah. The steed has the statistics of the chosen form, as we just mentioned, with the Find Familiar spell. Additionally, if your steed has an intelligence of 5 or less, its intelligence becomes a 6, and it gains the ability to understand one language of your choice that you speak. The good thing about everything in right here, these two spells, it's all in the back of the Player's Handbook.
Yeah. Now, with Find Greater Steed, it essentially functions like Find Steed, but you can also choose a griffin, a pegasus, a paraton, not a pterodon,
Yes.
a dire wolf, a rhinoceros, or a saber-toothed tiger. I kind of feel like the Find Greater Steed is a bit light in comparison to what the other things.
Oh yeah, as DMs, which we just said, we're notorious for elaborating on what you allow. And there is a difference in these spells. Find Familiar is a first, Find Steed is a second, and then Greater Find Steed is a 4th level spell. Yeah. So basically, they allow you to have stronger companions to summon with this magic.
If you look at the base mechanics of like the creatures they give you per the spell, I think Find Steed is a CR 1/2 or a CR 1. Familiar is about a CR 1/4 on most circumstances, and Find Greater Steeds are usually CR 2.
Let's look up here in the back, because that's what the book is for Warhorse, because it's the first thing that comes to mind. I think it's your most typical one. A Warhorse is a CR 1/2. Yeah. With Find Familiar, it's a little bit lower.
Yeah. And they don't. The idea behind these is that they're not going to contribute greatly to combat.
No. Maybe Find Steed to a degree, but no, Find Familiar, I wouldn't say at all.
I will say if you do have a druid in your party that can cast Entangle, you can run people over with a horse and it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be. Or a rhino, as you can get with Greater Steed, which I prefer much more than a horse.
Oh yeah.
We'd also like to note, there is only one class at this time, right, that allow you to summon a familiar?
Per pure mechanics, anything that can get the Find Familiar spell, sorcerers, wizards, a thief can give it to you. They can all get the Find Familiar spell, but only one class actually gets a familiar as part of its mechanics, being Warlock, Pact of the Chain. And what makes that special, though, is that it specifically says you get an imp, a quasit, a sprite, and another thing that I can't remember.
Would you say imp?
Pseudo-dragon.
Yes, sir.
The most popular one of all, of course.
I would. No, and that was me. I'm going to take an imp or a quasit.
I like imps because an imp ain't going to lie to you. It'll try to manipulate you, but it won't lie to you.
What are you trying to say currently right now about a quasit in your current game?
A quasit will do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I've realized that. So as we brought this up here recently in both our Ancient War Reborn and Out of the Abyss, these have become pretty good staples in our game. For instance, would you like to elaborate on Orid's Familiar?
Orid had the mechanical bird Archimedes, which I believe I used the stats for an owl for. But it's just like I think the matter for it. I've only used it in combat like once.
If that, if I
had to use the help action one time because the thing was in my face, so I couldn't just shoot it. But other than that, Wesley had his elk.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, being a paladin. And to me, the only reason he chose that, and I completely forgot about that, to be honest with you, was that he had started becoming in touch with nature.
Yeah, he took the Oath of Ancients.
What was her name? You guys had met on the caravan. I cannot.
No. It started before that, like the nature thing. It's when he met that druid in the town.
Yeah, well, she was on the. She went on the caravan.
No, I talk about it was in the Greenest. It was the druid in Greenest that ran the bakery.
Oh yes,
he was talking to her, and he that's when he chose Oath of Ancients.
I forgot about her from Facebook.
After meeting,
but them two knew each other, so it kind of worked out. But I thought that was a really neat way because as our whole point to do this is, as a DM, excuse me, don't try to be basic. Try to flavor things up. For instance, you were talking about arc beating in your owl, and he came to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna." Summon Find Familiar, which is a good thing to bring up to your DM first. To let your DM try to fit this with you. But here's the thing, though. I didn't do any of the work for his familiar. He came to me with it, which really fit Ord.
Yeah. Like, Ord's thing was that he felt himself as a servant of Ogma, specifically after Perry passed away.
Yes.
And he threw himself into his work a lot. And, like, I just wanted to signify, like, it's to him, divine and arcane didn't matter as much as the creation and working.
And you were very much in depth with mechanics, especially being a gunsmith. So it made logical sense to forget the forms of celestial, fey, and fiend, and it was just cosmetic. It had nothing really to do with what it could do. It was just cosmetic, you know. And that's a good thing to do based on kind of like what we kind of currently have going on in Out of the Abyss with this bull that just showed up for Grom. Yes. So
Raztoror.
And it kind of had, and you could, and though it's silver, you could assume that maybe it's metallic when you first see it. Like it is metal. So, which I guess we'll find out here soon.
Well, he's a paladin of Silverbeard. So they're in the process, his mount should have silver hair, right?
Completely
right. Gray or metallic iron looking. And I think I just threw the stats of an Auroch on because it's bullish.
Yes.
And they have like the charge on it, which I didn't even pay attention to the CR. I don't even think. I think it's CR2 now that I think about it.
Well, as a DM, you also knew that he was going to use this thing in combat.
And I played with him a lot. He wanted it to be this huge thing throughout, and he kept trying to do it throughout the entire session. He kept trying to summon it like in random places.
Yes.
And I was like, "You're right in the barrel."
and it's funny that you say that because with Wesley and the Ancient War of War, that was his thing. He kept wanting to summon his own familiar, which he wanted a pseudo dragon that was gold that wore a baby blue gauntlet for Torm, which was really neat. And he just wanted the dragon. He's like, "Oh, and I just want it, blue with blue streaks down its tail and whatnot." And it was a cosmetic look. And I'm like, why not just make it have a gauntlet to show you that it's there for Torm? He's like, "Oh man, that's brilliant." And that was the thing. He kept trying to summon it, but knowing what he was going up against at the time, and you guys were on, and it all started before you got on the ship with Cloth. And I'm like, it will not come to you because it smells this dragon, and it does not want to put itself in harm's way. And he kept wanting to do that, and I'm like, no, because to me, this thing you're trying to summon is against what you're at, but it knows it's everywhere around you. It would not bring itself to come at that time. And it didn't, and he wound up not being involved in the game before he got to that point. So what did I do when Evan, again...
Like, he even took my familiar away, too, whenever I got on the boat.
Yeah, because it's just the essence of, Cloth being so powerful, it was terrified, and it would not show up. Yours left, and his wouldn't show around. And I took that, and... I don't know if you noticed a pattern here, but Evan went from Bard to Paladin. Wanted to summon a steed. Now he's Monk Paladin wanted to summon a steed.
Well, he first talked to me like after the third session.
Yeah,
he was talking about like how he wanted me to make his steed special for him.
Well, that's what.
He didn't want to.
And you should want something just plain. I mean, it's like I used to do this with druids when druids got animal companions. You want to make it come in at a right time. And that's a good thing about this as a DM. just don't let your player do it because they can do it. Make it feel special to them.
Yeah.
Like, set it up kind of like with Wesley and the.
It also depends on the player too. There are some players that like they don't care. To them, it's just a spell.
They don't care, but no, as a DM, it matters to me that I make that a moment for my player. Like, for instance, up in 03.5, like when you would get your animal companion with a druid or ranger, especially with a ranger because they got like a level 4.
Yeah.
I would tell them, don't tell me what you want. It might take a level or two before this gets to you, but I want it to fit. It makes sense. Like, well, I'm in the middle of a city and I'm at a bar one day, and then my wolf shows up.
Like,
how did your wolf get through town?
Like Rupert, I described since level 1 because the whole point of Ord was that I wanted to ride a bear. Literally, the whole point of Ord is that I wanted to ride a bear. I don't know if you remember me talking to you about that or not.
Yeah, I know. That was one of the first things you were running around shooting this thunder cannon being on a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing. That's how Ord started.
Yeah. I just, like, that was the whole concept of the character that I just love so much.
Yeah. And, I guess that's another class that you would get something like that in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And I believe they might get they get the Find Familiar spell as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's how you got your,
that's
how you got your,
I didn't know if I got for that from multi-classing with Wizard.
I don't remember. Regardless.
Yeah. But, like, I described, like, every time we took a rest of that, I described tinkering on a bear skull.
Yeah.
A metal bear. Like, every chance that I got, I mentioned that.
Yeah, and he really played that up, and that was a really good thing. So, but the whole point of this is, like, don't be afraid to go outside what the book tells you. The general rule of Dungeons and Dragons, or even RPGs like this in general, is these are just guidelines. None of this is set in stone. Have fun with it. Allow your players some freedom with it.
Yeah, like, be thematic. Especially if they're letting you pick what their steed or familiar is. Think of what would fit them.
Yes. For instance, like Evan with the dragon. I took the pseudo-dragon, just made it a dragon. And it made sense for a lawful, good gold dragon for him to summon to the fact that you were trying to prevent Tiamat from rising. So it would make sense. And sure, is it too high of a level for even the fine greater steed? It is, because I gave him the CR10.
Oh yeah,
But but knowing what you guys were approaching, how much did you guys need that though?
Actually, we gave it away as soon as we got it.
Yeah, but think about the beginning though. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot, and that dragon helped out a lot. I mean, especially when the big white Dracolit showed up.
As soon as we killed the red dragon, the Dracolits, No, we're inside the cave, right?
Yeah, it was before you fought the red dragon.
It was before we fought the big red dragon. Evan used it to take Lassisi on. Because I was ready for Ord to just walk out of there with Lassisi at that point.
Which was actually, as a character who actually just got that steed, was a really good flavor for the game. Very, very thematic. It was a very memorable moment. Because, and I remember James was like, no, we need that dragon, because he realized, hey, we're getting stomped here. This dragon is helping out quite a bit. And then Evan, being a character, was like, no, the dragon needs to go, because you knew that place where the dragon was going, there was assaults going on up there because the cult had made their move. So it was a really good moment, and it didn't even have anything to do with summoning the steed. It was almost like using the steed as a way to escape. So. It was a really good moment.
But keep your if you're picking the mounts out for your players, pick something thematic. Like if you're playing Evil Campaign with like a Hell Knight in the party that goes to do his mount and leaves it up to you, make it a Fell Steed, like a Hell Steed or something. Nightmare. I get the words right. Too many games. And like make it a Nightmare or something that's very thematic for it.
Yeah, if it's a killer, if it's a necromancer. It's undead. It's made of bones, You
actually look at Curse of Strahd at the beginning. They say effects on magic, where any familiar or steed you summon is automatically undead,
which makes a ton of sense.
Because it is from the plane itself tainting your spell.
Yeah. For instance, which eventually our next planned game to run is Tomb of Annihilation, which we're desperately waiting for.
Anxiously waiting.
Yes. Like with your Find Familiar here, I mean. A lot of these are not going to show up in a tropical jungle setting. Yeah. For instance, a cat. Yeah. A common house cat. No. Well, but you might find a small dinosaur type creature.
See, with Find Familiar, I tend to add elemental to that list. as well as undead in general or aberration, because they're all things found in other planes.
Oh, and like you said, it all depends on the type of character you're playing too. So
If you look at Volosky, they give you a familiar beholder head, which I love to death. Like I just want to have a character that has a thing that's following around everywhere.
that just does not sound good.
It's crazy.
When you said
It's
that just did not sit well with me as a DM. I'm like,
it's not an actual beholder.
yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of the eyes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
But like, if you read it, like it just walks around like bites people randomly and shit. It's fucking great.
But also with these find spell, these find familiar, find steed. I mean, also as a DM, when these creatures die, because they can be gone.
Yeah.
You know, play that up, because essentially they are part of your party. I mean, their deaths do matter. For instance, even though, okay,
technically you can always cast it again to get them back.
true, but here's the thing: as a DM, if say one literally died in combat, would you allow that familiar or that steed to come back?
Depends on the circumstance. Like I killed a Paziup off screen, and I let him summon it back.
True.
It depends, because the idea of the familiar is that it's like Demogorgon. If he dies, he can come back.
True.
Because he's technically an immortal creature. They're along the same basis, depending on what it is. Like an aberration, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like the things like I mentioned before, like even Fae, I kind of feel like they should just stay dead. You can cast the spell again and get something, but it won't be the same thing.
And it's also different. For instance, when you guys went to Zonfal's Tower, and with Ord dying there and Archimedes being stuck around, to me as DM, say something happened where you came back to life,
Yeah.
he would be lost in that to me. Like if you tried to summon him back, he would not be able to escape that due to the setting of how that maze worked.
Yeah, I thought I didn't have a mountain there.
No, I'm just saying if the possibility there, because a lot, like you said, a lot of it depends on what is going on, because that whole area was so warped between time and space. Like to me, its essence would be trapped in there, because that's what
Couldn't escape.
Because that's the fact that what happened when they left you and you killed yourself with a fireball. They went try to find you. What happened? They couldn't. That part was sealed off because that's just how the maze works. So, but you know, make these impactful to your game.
Make them a character in and of itself.
Yes, because essentially that is what your PCs are doing. They are playing two characters with
They
this.
clearly give them out a language so it can speak.
Yes.
Make it speak. There's one thing, like I did not actually know that by the regular Fine Steed.
Really?
I did not know it got a language or anything, because Wesley's elk never spoke.
Well, that would be your player's fault.
Yeah.
So, and I think he was just so wrapped up in wanting that he probably never bothered to do it.
Yeah, I don't think he actually read the full spell through.
Then that's probably tree. Then again, he didn't have a book. Everything was printed out, so or everything was read online.
Yeah.
So, but you know, as a DM, think outside the box here. Obviously, you can tell by listening to us, we do.
I run an adventure book without the book.
It works.
Yeah.
But I'm JVD.
I'm Smiley.
Keep the dice rolling, guys.
Oh, Shabba. Home out of mana.
We need mana. We are full of health.